Out of all of Dementus' henchmen that I've covered so far, the Octoboss has the most prominence in the film, which is why I wanted to save him for last. His gang is part of the best action sequence of the film, and his design is incredibly striking. The Octoboss wears an all-black suit, made to resemble a military frogman with the mesh over his mask. I also think he's supposed to be an executioner, since he puts it on when he slits Mary Jabossa's throat while she's tied to a tree, and usually only wears it during combat. For the first half of the film before the time skip, the Octoboss is seemingly Dementus' highest ranking officer, and leads the Mortifliers. It isn't until Dementus kills his gang members that he and his group separate from the main horde, and attack anyone that passes through their territory. There's a very helpful interview from Goran de Cloyt, the actor who portrays the Octoboss, that illustrates a lot of what he's about, so I'm going to quote a lot of it and include a link in the description. He goes into the backstory of the Octoboss, as well as what information he was given early on that he then expanded. George Miller and Nico Lathris had a skeletal template for him. They wrote that he was second in command to Dementus, that he led a group of men called the Mortifliers that eventually became the Mortifliers, and that he breaks away from the horde and attacks the war rig on a flying bike. Beyond that, everything else was up for interpretation. The name Octoboss gave Cloyt several ideas early on, especially with the giant octopus kite allowing his Harley Davidson to fly. Originally, he didn't even have the horns. He and Nico decided that the Octoboss was the first of the generals to join forces with Dementus, and that he had already established a powerful biker gang under his command. The Octoboss was an infant and soon an orphan when the world was destroyed, and had since spent his life evolving within the wasteland. Some of his men had been loyal to him since they were young, and he to them. They formed a Wild One-style biker gang to survive rapidly changing social structures, comprised of desperate youths that grew into an experienced marauding faction of raiders. Octoboss's strategic intelligence, code of conduct, and care for his comrades is what allowed him to rise to that of a respected leader. He compared the Octoboss to Odysseus at the Battle of Troy, someone to help keep order and provide tactical advice to Dementus, and is one of the few lieutenants that can sleep safely knowing he has loyal men to protect him. This is also illustrated well in the scene where Furiosa is kicking Toe Jam, as aside from the history man Dementus, he's the only one that doesn't rush towards all the others, showing his higher rank and closest to Dementus. It seems he does have a somewhat good opinion of Dementus' leadership, as he tells his men, albeit a bit begrudgingly, to go along with the plan of painting themselves like war boys, though obviously that's before the plan goes down. Eventually, the changing circumstances and the horrible betrayal at the hands of Dementus when he turned on the Octoboss's men, those same men who allow Octoboss to maintain his position of status, force Octoboss to revalue the bonds he has established. The Octoboss renewed his search for the place of abundance, rediscovering flight to cover more ground and growing his faction of loyal followers. During that period, the name of the Mortifliers was changed to the Mortifliers. The gang took control of the roads between the areas of power, the Citadel, Gastown, and the Bullet Farm. They even graffiti the Immortan symbol to have the Octoboss's horns, marking the road as their territory. According to Cloyt, the Octoboss spends a lot of time listening to the history man's word burgers, filled with tales of various flying machines and events just before his time. It is a source of knowledge that inspires the Octoboss to once again attempt to conquer the sky. The Mortifliers themselves are incredibly dangerous, and many of them are descended from a rogue SAS group, giving them their skills in parkour and flying. They are based off an early group from Fury Road called the Roto Raiders, that were cut to save time and money. Within the biker horde, they only take orders from the Octoboss, not caring what Dementus or any other officer has to say unless it's repeated by their leader. The Mortifliers' tactics are very distinct, having different escalating phases. First, they use the motorcycles to send troops flying into the air on parachutes, raining down bombs and thundersticks, while the ground ones place explosives and attack whoever is unlucky enough to be on the convoy they target. More of them use either hooks or vehicles to climb onto the rig and attack with melee weapons. In the second phase, they send Mortifliers with heavy motors strapped to their back for faster flight, while also distracting their opponents from the arriving sidecars. Then if a convoy is still unclaimed, a massive hang glider is dispatched with a flamethrower, and should that still not be enough, the Octoboss himself arrives as the last resort. His flying bike is strapped with multiple AK-47s at the front that all fire at once, and even has additional ones that he fires by hand. As previously stated, the Octoboss does have a sense of honor, at least more so than many of the other Mad Max warlords. Dementus using his men as a decoy and then killing them was the last straw, since the Octoboss actually cares about the Mortifliers. It seems possible that them not listening to Dementus' commands is what causes Dementus to use them for a suicide mission, to make an example. Also, aside from the Octoboss yelling to Dementus that he's scum, the Octoboss is pretty level-headed. He usually has his helmet off, calmly observing the events unfolding, even leaning back in his bike while sitting down. However, he's still far from a heroic person. The Octoboss brutally tortures and kills a mother in front of her daughter, and has likely been involved in many more atrocities with Dementus. I think he was just as obsessed with finding the place of abundance as Dementus, since he's incredibly committed while trying to get the information from Mary Jabassa. I find it interesting that he only puts the mask on when there's violence to be done, and that he acts significantly more aggressive with it. His eyes behind the mesh are only visible in some scenes, mainly when he's surprised or enraged. It adds an almost inhuman quality to him. The Octoboss meets his end during the Mortifliers' attack on the war rig, when the harpoon and bombing knocker is used to catch and annihilate his bike while he's still on it. Along with Mr. Harley and Mr. Davidson, he's one of the few villains in Furiosa that still has some sense of care for people. I also find his design one of the most interesting out of Dementis' lieutenants, with the horns and all-black outfit creating a demonic figure despite the silly name. And the Mortifliers serve a very important part of the story beyond just another obstacle for Furiosa on her journey, as them deserting the biker horde helps to illustrate Dementis' growing madness and loss of the ability to control his gangs. He is the only one of Dementis' henchmen that leaves before the time skip too, as he isn't present during the negotiations of the Citadel. It's been really fun doing these Mad Max videos. I really appreciate everyone watching them. I might be taking a bit of a break from the Mad Max videos after this one and do other topics, but I'll definitely make more at some point. There's still a lot I want to cover, interviews I want to do, etc. Until next time.